What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and in this video we are going to go ahead and break down the ultimate weapon Python. So the Python is a general round SMG, and it's a pretty popular weapon, I would say so. So we're gonna go ahead and break it down in the typical Divine style, and I'm gonna let you guys know everything there is to know about the Python. So without wasting time, let's just get straight into it. So aesthetically, the Python looks pretty nice. It's reminiscent of like a vector from like Call of Duty games or anything like that. So it's pretty cool, but that's not what we're here for. So let's go ahead and go over the unique ability of the Python. So the Python's unique ability is called Python Instinct. So at base level, the Python is on hitting a weak point, inflicts the unique ability Prey on the target enemy. So the Python comes with a base of increased recoil by 30%, and the Prey ability that you receive on hitting a weak point is a 1 second duration buff or debuff with a max stack of 20. The Prey does a non-attribute resistance of -2% and a toxic resistance of -1%. It also does a non-attribute resistance per stack -3.6% per stack, and a toxic resistance per stack -1.3% per stack. Remember, it's 20 stacks, and this is at base. On the screen, you will be sitting on the right side. What you'll be able to compare the base unique ability to a maxed unique ability. So you'll see the differences in this unique ability. So you can determine whether or not after this video, after you watch the whole video, before you grind this out and invest, you can determine whether or not this is something that you want to invest in, invest a lot of your time into. So let's go ahead and get straight into the weapon and its builds. So here is the Python. The Python submachine gun, it's an ultimate weapon. It is in the general rounds category. So as we see here, the base firearm attack is 9,842 with a fire rate of 923 and a 30 round magazine. You're gonna go through that magazine really fast. Reload time is 1.5 seconds with a critical hit rate of 5% and a firearm critical hit damage of a 1.3 times multiplier. Crits is not where it's at on this weapon. You have an attribute status effect trigger rate of a 3.45% with a weak point damage multiplier of a 2 times. Hip fire accuracy is 6111, and your aim shot accuracy is 8555. So, judging the weapon based off of its base stats, it's a not that great weapon. It's okay. It's better than some weapons. It's better than beam rifles, but all in all, the weapon isn't too great in and of itself. It has really low critical hit chance, and the critical hit damage multiplier, I mean, at least it's not a 1 times, but a 1.3 still isn't that great. Your weak point damage is a 2 times, which is pretty good. It would be better if it was more like a 2.3, maybe 2.5, but that's pushing it. So yeah, the firearm attack isn't that high either. So what's so special about this weapon? So our first build that I'll be showing you here is our trying to make the Python a standalone DPS weapon. If I'm going to be honest here, before we get into the build, making the Python a standalone DPS weapon is actually a really, really difficult task. Just simply due to the fact that the base stats on it just is not that great. So even if you do mod it out, it's not going to miraculously become, the best or S tier. So let's see what we put on here. We'll go over the base stats, and then we'll talk a little bit more about, So we went ahead and took advantage of its unique ability where it reduces non-attribute resistance and toxic resistance. Now, as a standalone weapon, a standalone DPS, we cannot make the Python do any non-attribute damage because that's character-specific damage, but we can capitalize on the poison. So we went ahead and put on toxic enhancement to give ourselves a little bit of toxic damage per shot, and then we also went on and put on Toxic Conductor. So that way, when we do proc Toxic on the enemy, we get a little bit extra firearm attack. We put weak point sight on and have aiming because it had a base of a 2 times weak point damage multiplier. Also, your unique ability is based off of weak point hits. So your main priority with the Python is going for weak points. Obviously, action and reaction and rifling reinforcement, just because we want that raw damage increase. Now here we put on poison priority. So what poison priority is just going to enhance our poison attacks that we are going to be doing because we have on toxic enhancement. So that's what we have that on. Now you can use either poison priority or you can use poison gun barrel. The difference is poison gun barrel will give you more damage for your poison attacks, but it's going to reduce your fire rate. Poison priority is going to go ahead and give you a little bit less than gun barrel when it comes to toxic attack, but it's not going to reduce your fire rate, but you increase your reload time. So you can pick your poison. If you think that your fire rate's high enough that you can put on gun barrel, do that. If you want to keep the high fire rate, put on poison priority. So we went ahead and put on fire rate up just to increase our fire rate even more, and we put on magazine weight balance, and this is just going to increase our magazine size, and it gives us 2% weak point damage. Nothing too crazy, but still a little bit more damage. So now let's go over the weapon's new stats with all these mods applied. So our firearm attack is now 21,553.98. Our rate of fire is 1,229. Rounds per magazine, 39. Reload time is a 1.95 seconds, so instead of a 1.5, 1.95. Critical hit rate stays the same. Critical hit damage stays the same at 5% and a 1.3 times multiplier. Status effect trigger rate stays the same at a 3.45, and our weak point damage goes up to a 3.54 times multiplier. So I'm going to showcase the damage, or showcase this weapon's damage to you with this dummy. So we'll have a simulated combat experience right now. Alright, so let's go ahead and see what one shot's looking like on a weak point. So about 36,000 base damage with 5,526 poison damage. So like I was saying, it's not that great. It's just not that great. About still 36,000 base damage, but our poison only goes up to 5,900. So that's not that great of an increase. Now, obviously, when you do level up the unique ability, now it's not like your damage is going to skyrocket, but it's going to be a little bit higher than what you see here when it comes to reducing their poison resistance. So, and that is in a combat simulated area to where I am capable of hitting most, if not all, weak point hits. In an actual combat scenario, the likelihood of you hitting straight headshots or straight weak point hits, it's slim to none, right? So what are my thoughts about the Python as a standalone DPS weapon? It's not good. Simple fact is it's just not. Base stats are not that great. It hits really fairly low numbers compared to so many other weapons. It has a really high fire rate, which is cool, but the magazine is not that large, so you're kind of reloading here every second or two. Even if you do pump into the poison aspect of this weapon, it still doesn't do great at all. Now, what I will say, okay, well, we'll get to that part. Let me not jump the gun here. So, yeah, the Python as a standalone DPS weapon is not great. Now, you might be wondering, well, what if you took off Toxic Conductor and put on like Real Life Fighter? I know Real Life Fighter is a fan favorite. Well, the simple fact of the matter is, how likely are you to hit all headshots with the Python, being that its rate of fire is as high as it is, and if you miss one bullet, you lose 2 stacks, and you only get a maximum of 10 stacks, and you only gain a stack, 1 stack per headshot or per weak point hit. So in a realistic or a actual combat scenario, the likelihood of you benefiting from Real Life Fighter, slim to none. But can Real Life Fighter be better than Toxic Conductor? Of course. especially if you are able to land a good amount of weak point hits. On Colossus fights, hitting weak points are a little bit easier than everywhere else, so you could replace Toxic Conductor with Real Life Fighter. That is a good alternative. Another good alternative would be to use Firing Fiesta, just simply due to the fact that this weapon shoots insanely quick, and then the reload time is pretty quick too. You can unload a mag, reload, and then just dump for however long Firing Fiesta's duration is at max level. Obviously, I don't have it leveled up, but you can get yourself out maybe three times the, maybe even 4 times the amount of bullets that a regular magazine will have just by using Firing Fiesta. So you could squeeze out a little bit more damage that way. So Firing Fiesta would be another good alternative. But other than those, nothing else is really great, because the Python isn't that great of a standalone DPS weapon. So what we're going to do now is talk about the Python as a stat stick. So the Python being a stat stick is its main purpose. And when I say main purpose is, as far as I'm concerned, as far as my testing, I haven't tested it with Freyna yet, but my testing is with Glay and her 4th ability, Massacre. If you do that build, the Python is one of the better weapons to use as the stat stick for Glay. As you've seen from the first little, start of the video, I had a, 12-second kill on Devour using this build right here for the Python, and using it on the Glay as a stat stick. So building out the weapon itself, now you could say, so you have 2 options here. You can either optimize and maximize the amount of damage you'll get if you do the stat stick for this weapon, or you could just use its base stats roughly and just gain a slight benefit from it. So what we did here was we built the Python all the way out, right? So we did the same tropes here. We did the toxic with the toxic stuff here. We did the basic firearm attack increase, weak point damage, stuff like that. That's really all. That's really it for the Python. It's not really that great of a weapon. Like I said, it's really only good as a stat stick. I know right now this weapon is great for Glay as a stat stick, just simply due to the fact of its massive fire rate. That's really the main reason. But I mean, you can go get there's another SMG that shoots even faster than this, so you could just use that if you want instead. But obviously the firearm attack is a little bit lower, so you weigh your options there. So that's the Python in a nutshell. So anyways, guys, that's it for the video. If you guys learned anything, if you guys enjoyed the video, if you think I covered the Python pretty well, hey, drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out. It keeps me motivated to want to keep making more content for y'all. I'm enjoying making content, and I enjoy seeing you guys' comments and stuff like that. It's pretty amazing, so I just want to say thank you guys for watching again. And yeah, that's it for me. Until next time. Did you eat your protein?